Criminals getting stopped by police can often use many violent methods to try and escape. But what happens when suspects try to seduce and flirt with cops to avoid sentences?
Girl, cut it out.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
All right, so look, I remember the first time that I witnessed and realized as an adult from firsthand experience that women have privileges, right? And at the time, if you would have told me this, like women have privileges, I would not have believed you, right? Because women have been oppressed and marginalized. How can they have privileges? But of course, now I know better, right? Two things can be true at the same time. You can have privileges and both be marginalized at the same time. It's depending on the scenario or the circumstances, right? Yes, white people have privileges. Yes, you know, men, we definitely have privileges. And believe it or not, even so-called black people, we have privileges too, depending on the scenario and the situation, right? And women are no different, right? And not only that, but a lot of women, not all, but most.
Not all, but most.
A lot of women know that they have this privilege. And this particular night that I'm about to tell you about, my homeboy's girlfriend knew that she had this privilege and she used it to her advantage to get us out of a sticky situation, right? So at the time, I'm in my first year at the university in undergrad, and I'm about 20 years old. I had never had alcohol at that point, right? And so that night was no different. So I was the only person in the car, and the girl that was driving the car, we were the only two that didn't drink that night. She drank alcohol, but she just didn't drink that night, right? So it's me and two other friends that are both men, right? We're in the back seat. It's my friend in the passenger seat with his girlfriend who's driving the car, right? So she's the designated driver. So we get pulled over, and I think she was speeding. She did a couple of things. She was speeding. I think she ran either a stop sign or a stoplight, right? And this is about maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So we get pulled over. She's not even panicking, and she knows that she's in the wrong. So we get pulled over. This is exactly what happened. She goes, let's just say my friend's name for confidentiality purposes. Let's say his name was Jeremy. She goes, Jeremy, don't say nothing. He ain't even say nothing to her in return. She goes, don't say no. Watch this. So I'm in the back seat, so I can't see what she's doing, but she's adjusting something up here, right? She's adjusting something. So out of nowhere, the police officer comes to the window, and by the time he came, she already had her license and registration ready. So he asked for, hey, license and registration, ma'am. And so they're in the middle of talking, and he's like, you do realize that you were speeding and that you ran a light or a stop sign, whatever it was. And she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Listen, my brother. She points at her boyfriend and goes, my brother and his friends have been drinking tonight.
She's really good.
They are their only way home, and I was just trying to get home as fast as I can. Like, the girl sounded like she'd already rehearsed this. Like, it was perfect. She was hitting all the spots. The man is getting ready to respond to what she said, but he's like, stop mid-sentence. He was like, yeah, man, but. And again, I'm in the back seat. I can't see his face, but something made him stop talking. And it's not a mistake, because as soon as he stopped talking, in the middle of his sentence, she leaned over. It happened simultaneously. She leaned over, and he was like, I'm sorry. And she was like, I didn't say anything. I was just leaning over to hear you. I can barely hear you, sir. I'm so sorry. Like, she unnecessarily apologizing for stuff. Anyways, long story short, we didn't get a ticket. He didn't even go back to the car with her license and registration. He hands it back over to her. They talked for like 5-10 minutes, and it seemed like he was flirting with her a little bit. He gave her his card. We drive off. Didn't get a ticket. Didn't have nobody step out the car. No, nothing. Didn't see if she had been drinking. Nothing. He just took her for a word. She stayed in character for like the next 5 minutes. She waited until we got to the house, and then she goes, man, I done that so many times. I got out of like 4 tickets doing that. This girl had unbuttoned her shirt and had her cleavage out. And I mean, she had major cleavage out. And she was showing it to him, flashing it to him when she was talking to him. It was crazy, right? So today, we're going to be reacting to some times when other women suspects, so to speak, have been pulled over for multiple different reasons, right? And they try to get their way out of the situation by seducing the cops, right? And sometimes, as you'll see, it works in their favor, and sometimes not so much. So without further ado, let's check it out.
Criminals getting stopped by police can often use many violent methods to try and escape. But what happens when suspects try to seduce and flirt with cops to avoid sentences? Starting with 48-year-old Kelly Barton, who drove into a lamppost while transporting a special needs patient for work. However, when police arrived, she was looking a little worse for wear.
Kelly?
Yes?
How are you doing?
Good.
Kelly admits that she had too much to drink that evening, but doesn't admit to driving, despite it being her job. Unfortunately for her though, security camera footage from the gas station proves that she was in fact behind the wheel, and is now facing charges of both DUI and neglect due to the responsibility she carried while driving with the patient. But as an ambulance pulls up to perform some tests on her, Kelly reveals that she has another trick up her sleeve, and begins repeatedly flirting with all of the officers at the scene.
Look at you handsome.
You want the life squad to check you, ma'am?
Let them do what they gotta do. Come on, boys.
Hey, he said, do you want Life Squad to check you, ma'am? Yeah. What you think? Yeah. Come on over here, you handsome man. Let's first of all acknowledge and give her credit that being 48 years old, first of all, she don't look 48. Being 48 years old, pushing 50, and she flirting with people. That's crazy.
Hey. I want the little young boys. Ask me how I'm feeling. Let the little young boys tell me. Let me tell you something. What I would do to you with your blue eyes.
Well, let me check your blood sugar.
Okay. Look at him. I would do him in a way that he won't admit. Hey, look. He can look tough all he wants, right? Don't let me get him.
After multiple tests, it's clear to the officers that Kelly was way over the legal limits.
Now look, we can laugh at this all we want, but let's just be real, bro. Let's flip it, right? Let's say that that's a man, a 48-year-old man who's intoxicated, and those are multiple female officers out there, along with some male officers that are out there, and he's saying the same things that this woman is saying, intoxicated. We all know, bro, that man gonna be shut down fast. You're not gonna be allowed to hit on and talk about what you do to that woman, that female police officer. So I just wanted to point out that double standard, because it's funny we can watch this and laugh at it and think it's all cute. But if it was a man saying that in like harmless, just saying like, I'm attracted to you, female officer, and the things I would do to you, we're not even allowed to say that while we drunk. Let that sink in.
But if you think Kelly was bold for talking to cops like that, 18-year-old Skylar Fluss is on a completely different level, going so far as to post this video to thousands of people bragging about how she got away with a DUI.
I got out of a DUI and got let off with a warning.
Skylar was pulled over after an officer saw her weaving around the road in a way that suggested she might not have been completely sober. But according to her video, she claims that using her flirtatious and quick wit, she managed to trick the officer and get away with a warning.
I blew a 3.8 and he let me off with a f***ing warning and gave me his number and said we should meet for coffee or lunch. He was hot, so I'm getting lunch with him tomorrow.
If her story is true, then the officer would be in serious trouble. But luckily, the officer in question recorded the entire interaction on his body cam, and the video tells a completely different story.
Hello. Hi. My name's Deputy Stallman, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I pulled you over because you were weaving a little bit back there. Where are you coming from?
I was coming from my friend's house. I actually just got dumped.
Okay.
So I was like crying and like I'm really
okay. Were you on your phone and stuff too?
I was trying to call him to get a hold of him because my heart hurts so bad.
First of all, she lied. Second of all, look how she just went from talking normal to like trying to transition into crying. Like,
I was coming from my friend's house. I actually just got dumped.
Okay.
So I was like crying and like I'm really
okay. Were you?
Yeah, that's happened before with many people in many scenarios, but that was not organic, bro. That was not natural at all. Like, girl, cut it out. Like, trying to play victim, I don't know, man. Like, I think she'd be able to get away with it a lot easier than a man would. Just saying.
Well, I'm just concerned that you were weaving because of alcohol, but if you're on your phone, have you been drinking or anything tonight? No? Okay.
The deputy then does give Skylar a card with the sheriff department's information on it, but it didn't include his personal number, and it didn't come with an invitation to dinner.
Sounds like you're having a rough night, so I'm not going to add to that by writing you a ticket or anything, okay? So I'm just going to give you a warning. It's not a big deal. I just want to make sure you're okay. You were weaving a little bit, and I just want to make sure you're okay to operate the motor vehicle, and I believe you are. So my information's right here on the front. The reason I stopped you here is on the back. Wherever you're headed, get there safely, and I'm sorry you're having a bad night.
Yeah, I'm just right down the street. I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, you don't need to apologize. I mean, you were weaving a little bit with no traffic out. I just want to make sure.
Look, bro, she crying. And look, I'm going to get the police officer the benefit of the doubt, because he might be like this with anybody. He really does sound like a good person. But it just leaves one to question how she was able to get out of this so easily. Because I don't even think she was flirting with him. But the fact that he not even gonna test to see if she's intoxicated, not even gonna test to see if, you know, there's something illegal going on inside of the vehicle. None of that happened. Least want to argue, is that because she's white? Is it because she's a woman? Is it because of what she's experiencing? Is it because of none of it? Is it because you're attracted to her? It just makes me wonder, because let's be clear, I've been let out of multiple situations by white police officers multiple times that have been very kind to me, that could have given me a ticket. So I'm not going to just make it about race, but it's just interesting. He goes, I don't want to add to that, so I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm going to let y'all. Since when do officers tell you, well, since you're having a bad night or you're having a bad day already, I'm not going to add to that. Bro, I got a speeding ticket about 3 months ago, and I was on my way to a funeral. I was dressed in funeral clothing. You think that police, and not only that, but it was a speed trap. You think that police officer cared? He was like, where are you headed? You know, they always ask you. And I was like, oh, I'm headed to this funeral. And he was like, well, I'm sorry to hear about your loss. Still gave me a ticket.
You're okay, that's all.
Skylar's video doesn't just contain disgusting footage of her laughing and bragging about exploiting this officer's kindness, but also states that she blew a 3.8 on the breathalyzer, ignoring that she wasn't even tested in the first place. The legal limit is only around 0.8 and already makes driving dangerous. But a reading of 3.8 would imply Skylar was not only blackout drunk, but close to death, as at a level of 4.0, respiratory failure is likely. But this doesn't mean Skylar was lying about being drunk underage. Videos were later discovered of her chugging tequila from the bottle and acting drunk at a party just hours before she was caught driving. After she was confronted with this, Skylar confessed and admitted to everything.
I ended up getting a little too intoxicated. I was taking shots all night, and I decided to make the dumb decision to get into my car.
The dirty white foot.
Drive.
The dirty white
Air Force One. She also admitted that the
One.
officer never asked her out. That was just a lie for social media attention. Regardless of her confession, though, no further action was taken against her or the officer who failed to test her. But the same can't be said for Lydia Badillo. She was caught trying to transport 2 illegal immigrants over the Mexican border, and as soon as everything started to fall apart, she decided to try seducing the officer.
Just wait for me right here, okay? You don't have anything?
I'm looking at your eyes. Sorry, sir.
What?
I'm looking at your eyes.
Why?
Because you look pretty handsome.
As soon as the officer realizes something might be up with the IDs, Lydia starts to smile and stare directly at his eyes before telling him how handsome he is. Obviously, this is just a trick to try and get out of the position she's put herself in. A trick that isn't going to work on this officer.
Estos documentos por un tiempo? Por un año? Okay.
That's already trick 101.
Documentos.
Seducing you 101. You gotta have a cleavage out. Gotta have a cleavage out.
Las ID, a esta te sale a un señor, a tuya. A esta no me sale nada. Okay, so estas identificaciones son falsas. Okay.
After running the woman's driver's licenses through the national database, the officer discovers that the ID numbers return completely wrong results, meaning that both of them are totally fake. It's later discovered that the 2 women with Lydia in the car are both illegal immigrants from El Salvador. What's worse is that they were being transported through a service that often forces women into debt bondage, where the people who transported them will make them pay off their debt through forced labor and sex work. So, while Lydia was arrested and the 2 women sent back over the border, they may have been saved from years of horrible treatment and abuse. One thing's for sure though, Lydia's attempt at flirting didn't work one bit. Unlike Brooke Teague's attempt, which actually worked out well. So well, it's rumored that her and the cop are still together to this day. Brooke was pulled over after an officer witnessed her swerving around the road slightly, a telltale sign that the driver was either intoxicated or in need of help. So he swiftly pulled her over, only to be greeted in a surprising way.
Hey, I'm Officer Smith, Bentonville Police Department.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Smith.
I've never heard that before in a traffic stop. I appreciate that.
You never heard that from at a traffic stop before, or have you never heard that from a very attractive woman at a traffic stop before? Like, let's be real, bro.
Improper lane use.
Sorry, I was on the phone.
You're on the phone?
I'll be honest.
Okay. Who are you on the phone with?
My baby daddy. I'll show it to you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zachary? Okay.
Yeah.
How much do you have to drink tonight?
Only one drink.
Just one drink?
Yep. Yes,
Final
sir.
answer?
Miller.
A Miller Lite?
Yes. I won't lie to you, a Miller Lite.
That's all you've had?
Yes, sir. You can ask Zachary.
Zachary definitely want to talk to you.
I know you don't, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
In just this first minute of conversation, 2 things become clear immediately. Brooke has definitely had more than 1 beer to drink, and how well she and the officer seem to be getting along already. Both points that will get increasingly more obvious as the footage continues.
Yeah, I can smell it from across the car.
She's like, I had 1 Miller Lite. There's no, I wanted to say, like, a Miller did that to you?
Big Miller, 128 ounce Miller.
Freaking bucket of Miller. All right, where we at on it? Awesome. Brooke?
Yes.
Teague. Am I saying that right? Teague?
Yes. Like baseball league.
Teague like baseball league.
Yep. It helps people spell it because they never spell it correctly.
Brooke then gets taken out for some sobriety tests, which take much
she can
longer than
barely walk.
anticipated.
You're making me giggle. I'm sorry.
He makes me giggle too. It's okay.
Okay. I snore. I'm from
Sorry.
Huntsville.
We're supposed to be professional.
I'm from Huntsville.
Yeah, he's flirting.
All right, stop laughing because you're making me laugh.
I'm not.
Right? Seriously.
Hey, gentlemen, imagine being pulled over by a male officer, even a woman officer, because I haven't seen many scenarios where women officers are this way with male, suspects or people that they pulled over that are males, right? But imagine being pulled over by a male cop and you laughing while doing your sobriety test and you laughing and he say, "Man, stop laughing, bro. You're making me laugh." That ain't say he'll never say that to you.
Giggling. I'm
All right,
sorry.
this is a serious deal. All right. Okay.
You're smiling. I can't help it.
All right, stop.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, despite all the jokes, Brooke
He got
failed
serious
all
right
the
there.
sobriety tests and was put under arrest.
How much you've actually had a drink?
I've had 2 Millers.
2 Millers now? That's it?
Yes, sir. You can call Mitchell, the manager.
Okay. Well, hey, go ahead and put your hands on your back for me, okay?
Yeah.
After a search of her car, which turned up nothing but a loose car seat, she was driven back to the police station where the sparks continued to fly.
I'm with you. Let's go over
Was
here.
he touching her hair?
Guys, are a dog.
There is a dog.
Where?
He's
Was he
over there.
touching her hair?
Over here. His name is Kolyak.
Kolya?
That's my dog.
Is that your dog? What's his name?
His name is Coach.
Coach? I have 3 dogs. I have a Rottweiler, Great Dane, and a Mastiff.
Wow.
I mean that's really enough at this point, man. I'm curious. Have you all witnessed this before in real life? Are you aware that women know that they have this advantage and they use it either at a traffic stop or either in other scenarios? Hop in the comment section and let me know. And just for what it's worth, I want to give you my stance on it. I'm not complaining about it at all, right? I do believe that God is perfect, and I think everything is the way it's supposed to be. And I think God has created the universe in a way where it's going to balance itself out. And if that's what comes with being with the woman, that's what comes with it, right? I think it's a police officer's job to make sure that they don't let that, interfere with their job and executing the law, right? And following through with the right way to execute the law. But at the same time, like if you're a woman and you happen to have, boobs and you're attractive and all of that, and you want to try to use that to get out of a traffic stop, I'm not mad at you, right? But y'all in the comment section, y'all give me y'all thoughts on this, man. Till next time. Peace.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.